So it seems that we've got some absolutely enormous Warhammer 40k reveals today. The full Emperor's Children range has dropped with 3 new infantry box sets, 3 more characters, and a great big launch box. But there's loads more for 40k. New limited edition Cadians, the Death Guard miniature reveal, and a roadmap for the future. Let's talk about all the stuff that we've got. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're talking about Games Workshop's massive Las Vegas Open reveals and the rather excessive amount of new Warhammer miniatures that have been revealed today. The LVO usually tends to be a big Warhammer reveal show of the year, and the stream that they did this time around again was a pre-recorded one. They usually do a live show at the event and then have a pre-recorded stream to show off all the announcements and reveals that they then stream live on YouTube and Twitch. For this one, they told us that we'd get reveals for 40k, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, the Old World and Black Library. And for Warhammer 40k, we knew that the big thing that was going to be coming was the Emperor's Children range. We'd seen Lucius The Eternal hinted in the trailer for the thing, so I think everyone else was expecting new Noise Marines and whatever else they'd be doing for the faction. It seems that for the total of the reveals, the Emperor's Children are really the headline act. 3 squads, 3 characters, an army set and a combat patrol, plus a few rules teasers from the Codex, and it does seem that the Slaanesh demons are going to be rolled into it. There's a limited edition Black Library Cadian command squad with Minka Lesk, maybe a slightly surprising one, but a few more new guardsmen to go along with their release. They didn't show it off in the stream, but they released the Lord of Poxes miniature. This was the leaked Death Guard model they mistakenly shipped out a little while back, and we also have a few more details as to the 40k roadmap, apparently the other deity legions coming after Emperor's Children, and we got a few cryptic hints of the future. Finally, for the other systems, we've got Soulblight Gravelords from Age of Sigmar, skeletons looking rather nice there, High Elves for the Old World, Necromunda Ashmoist, Nomads and Terrain, and then the Thanatar Automata, the one that was teased for the Horus Heresy. As it goes, a pretty chunky reveal session for Games Workshop compared with a few that we had last year. Starting out though, let's dive in the deep end and start with the Emperor's Children. It now looks like we know the full details of the whole release that's going to be coming out for them. As with the Death Corps and the Eldari, I'd guess that this is all the miniatures that are going to be releasing. They didn't really give us any hints that there were going to be yet more reveals to come. We've already seen the star of the show, Fulgrim himself. Apparently he's going to have a novel to come with him, and they gave us a few teasers for his rules, and then it's going to be 3 infantry squads as the mainline release for the army. Of course, the Noise Marines, remade in a big Havoc-style unit of 6. The base troops of the faction, which are the Tormentors and Infractors. These ones basically seem to be Emperor's Children legionary equivalents. Interesting they decided not to make the Noise Marines that role. And then a small unit of 3 melee elites in the Flawless Blades, some masterful duelists to dispatch the enemy champions. Then to support them, we've got 3 new characters, Lucius The Eternal of course, pretty much the other model that we 100% knew was going to be redone. And then 2 generic characters, the Lord Exultant, which is the standard lord for the faction, and then the Lord Kakophonist, who's a deafening sonic weaponry specialist. A good chunk of them will be coming in the army launch set. That's one of the standard ones with a whole bunch of the miniatures and the Codex all thrown in. And then they'll come out individually a bit later, along with the combat patrol set, which they revealed the contents of. And then the Codex will go on individual sale as well, and that Codex apparently is containing some Slaaneshi demons. Starting out, here's the launch box called the Champions of Slaanesh, and this will likely be the first place that you can get any Emperor's Children miniatures. I'd guess that this will come out before the Primarch. It looks like it's the standard issue for 10th edition launch boxes. In this one there's the Lord Exultant, 2 sets of Tormentors or Infractors, the troops equivalent, and then 2 sets of 6 Noise Marines, the Codex with the limited edition cover, the datasheet cards and transfers. It'll likely be the same price as the Death Corps box set, and that one was £145 or $230 or 180 euros, unless Games Workshop decides to hit us with another price increase before that comes out. I'm sure it'll be a popular one though. A good set of new shiny plastic to launch the army for people who want to get on board with the new plastic range. Given that there's a cool new launch box in town, I will do this one for the next Auspex Tactics giveaway. The one for February is going to be for a night household, so I'll make this one for the March one. I'll be posting out 8 of those to different channel viewers, and if you're interested in how to enter for those ones, I'll talk about it at the end of the video. Getting into the new models properly though, and first up we have the Lord Exultant. This guy basically looks like he's the generic Chaos Lord for the faction, and clad in power armor. I think it was a sensible idea to give a standard Chaos Lord as an option for the launch. It was maybe a little bit weird that the World Eaters didn't get one besides the one that's mounted on the Juggernaut. It looks like it's maybe going for a similar sort of style to the recent Chaos Lord on foot that was quite well received, and he's really quite a customisable character as it goes. He's got the choice of a Phoenix Spear, Mastercrafted Power Sword, Power Fist and Rupture Lash for melee weapons, and a Screamer Pistol and Plasma Pistol for range. He's absolutely covered in Slaanesh heraldry there. Lots of chains and blades going on, plus a rather regal looking cape. And he's got a great big icon of Slaanesh mounted on his back. Apparently for his in-game rules, he'll have a once per game buff called Euphoric Strikes. They said that will make his melee better, and that does sound very similar to the standard Chaos Lord. I'd guess he'll be a fairly close match to that. Probably 3 stratagems, and then paired with the once per game damage buff, though it might take a different form rules-wise. They showed off all the war gear that you can equip him with, as well as the one that we've just seen with the Power Fist and the Spear. Then we've got one with that Screamer Pistol and the Lash. And then the last one on the right with a Mastercrafted Power Sword and Plasma Pistol, all with the same body and legs but done in quite a different pose, that one, looking off to the other way. Also looks like this is the choice of the head swap as well, either the helmeted head or rather demonic mutated Slaaneshi one. For the other generic character choice, there's a Lord Kakophonist, and he sounds like he's a bit more of a lead from the front and get stuck in with sonic weaponry style character, maybe weirdly kind of equivalent to, say, the Master of Executions perhaps for the Chaos Space Marines, more so than the Commander-in-Chief. As you can see, he's bringing the sonic weaponry in style, a kind of massive sort of organ sonic weapon on the back. There's apparently a really big doom siren, ready to fry the eardrums of the enemy and blast them apart with sonic stuff in general. And otherwise looks like he's got a pair of those Screamer pistols on the go there. And otherwise it looks like the model's got almost sort of stylized hoof feet on his power armor and some big cables plugging into that big noise contraption. This one definitely feels like it's got a lot of retro vibes going on. Apparently he's got an alternative loadout with a power sword, and his special rule is named Obsessive Enunciation, which gives Noise Marines sustained hits. Next up, we've got the troops choice for the Emperor's Children in the Tormentors, and it is kind of interesting that unlike the Death Guard Thousand Sons and World Eaters, their Noise Marines haven't just translated into the main battle line for the army. Instead, it seems we've got these Tormentors and Infractors instead. It does seem like they've borrowed the Primaris naming conventions just a little bit there. The Tormentors are the standard guys armed with bolters, and they basically strike me as legionaries but for Emperor's Children. They've got the option to take some special weapons. There's a plasma gun here, and I think there was a melter gun on another one, and the squad sergeant looks like he's got a lash and pistol there. And these guys will be coming in a box set of 10, which is the alternative build for the Infractors, which are the melee variants. It seems that a few of those previous teasers that they've given us were for these guys, for their helms and things. I think I like the models well enough on them. Just legionaries, but with a whole bunch of Slaaneshi tropes thrown in. Stylized armour and grills and all sorts of other weirdness. Apparently their lore is seeing themselves as basically the ultimate Space Marines. I guess that's Emperor's Children in general. But for the battle line troops, they're apparently hard to command for the Chaos Lords out there and have a habit of just doing their own thing and setting their own objectives and usually executing them very well, but might not be quite what you expected. In game, they said on stream that they were OC2 and a battle line unit, and can also infiltrate into the mid-board as well, which is kind of surprising for a battle line squad. And their special rule is Defile Objectives, which translates to the Sticky Objectives kind of rule, where if you hold it at the end of the command phase, then it will remain yours after that. I don't like to think about the specifics of how they've defiled them to make the objectives sticky. If they're infiltrators though, they will probably have a points cost that's at a premium to reflect that, so I guess they're not the sort of thing that you'd want to spam masses of. Otherwise, the dual build from the same kit are the Infractors, and these ones almost feel a little bit like Chaos Space Marine Reavers pretty much. Apparently in game these guys are going to have the Scouts rule, they're going to move 7 inches, which might just be a general thing for the Emperor's Children, perhaps not the Noise Marines, and their attacks have the precision keyword. I don't think they said what their special rule was. In any case, there were a fair few good pictures of these ones. They're armed with bolt pistols and dueling sabres. And here's the last 6 of them. They've got a good variety of different head swaps and things, including some bareheaded guys, and one with that speaker grill replacing his mouth. I guess the guy with the fancy back banner icon thing is probably going to be the unit champion. It doesn't immediately look like he's got any special gear or anything like that. It might just be bolt pistols and knives for the whole squad. It seems that at least for this release, the Emperor's Children might have got extra Space Marines rather than Space Marines and raised cultists of one sort or another. I feel like that's probably not the worst decision in the world. It has meant that they've immediately got more Space Marine infantry kits than either the World Eaters or Thousand Sons. Talking of the Elite of the Legion though, the Noise Marines have been redone, at least a little bit altered in theme and feel for them. They feel more like the sort of big chunky Havoc equivalent of the army now, as opposed to the slightly more general purpose mixed unit that we had before, all coming with great big shoulder mounted speaker grills. I don't know if they might be Doom Sirens as well potentially. They do seem a little bit bigger, chunkier and up-armoured compared with the rank and file Space Marines. It might be like the Havocs that they get an extra pip of toughness. The unit's going to come in a box set of 6 to please Slaanesh, it would seem. I'd guess you'd probably be able to field them like that and no more and no less. And it seems there's 2 sets of 6 coming in the launch box. It seems that within that set of 6, the majority of them are armed with sonic blasters. There's one that gets the Blastmaster, who I think is that guy at the back there. That one should probably be able to put some heavy hitting on enemy tanks and vehicles. And they're led by a squad leader called the Disharmonist. Here's the other pictures that they had. A few more close-up shots of a few of the models. The squad sergeant at the back there, and an alternative pose for him, armed with another one of those screamer pistols, it would seem. These guys are certainly looking a lot more ornate and fancy with all sorts of stuff going on. You can definitely tell that they're the elite of the Legion, far more so than the rank and file troops that we just saw. It seems they have been going with the black and pink colour scheme for them incidentally as well, rather than going for the purple of their Horus Heresy one, as it looked like they had on the Eldari Codex. Finally, for the third flavour of Emperor's Children infantry, we also have the Flawless Blades. I guess while the Noise Marines are the range specialists, these guys are representing the Slaaneshi perfection in combat and laying low the Emperor's greatest servants. Apparently they're supposed to be the spiritual successor of the Palatine Blades of the Great Crusade. These guys all have some combat stims feeding into them on their backpacks there, and look really quite warped and mutated by the favours of Slaanesh. Though apparently unlike the possessed of other Space Marine legions, they refuse to share the perfection of their bodies with a demon. The weapons are reportedly called Bliss Blades, and I guess they're probably going to be some sort of damage to power weapons, and it'll probably wind up being fairly similarly dangerous in close combat to the Dark Angel's Inner Circle companion, though hopefully right from the Codex drop without needing an errata for that. They said on stream that their datasheet rule is some sort of melee boost that risks their own demise if they get no kills apparently. Maybe some sort of Slaaneshi style Dark Pacts on the go, as Slaanesh really demands perfection of the Legion champions. Finally, for the main new model reveals for the Emperor's Children, we've got Lucius the Eternal. We saw his silhouette in the teaser, so we didn't really have too much to imagine. And this one really does feel like a warped and twisted successor of the previous Lucius miniature that I think was kind of crying out for an update for quite some time. He's got a massive amount of combat stims feeding into his back there. He's still got the utterly demonic visage of his face, the lash of torment wound round him, and a great big whip circling round him that might not be the easiest to transport in the world, and holding out his layer blades to declare a challenge to an enemy champion, no doubt. You can just about make out some warped faces on the armour of Shrieking Souls as well. There's a few on his chest plate there for the champions who managed to best him and then wound up turning into him gradually. Here's a few other shots of the miniature once again. You can see the parts of the combat stims feeding into him, plus the duelist swords, and the weird and rather tentacle-like lash of torment. Overall seems like a pretty spectacular model reveal. Let me know what you make of the different miniatures down in the comments. Which of the ones do you like the most, and are there any that you think that Games Workshop should have done a bit differently? That's not all though for the Emperor's Children, as we also have their Codex. The one in the box set is going to be the limited edition cover, but this one will be the cover for when it comes out on its own. And while they didn't really give us too much in the way of rules teasers, apparently the army rule is going to be Thrill Seekers with some sort of ability to advance and charge and fall back and charge, though a couple of restrictions on it, and there's perhaps going to be a surprising amount of detachments in the book with a big 6 of them. I guess that'll be a number that pleases Slaanesh, but I'm kind of surprised that the Emperor's Children get 6 detachments when, say, Tau had 4 in their Codex, or Guard had 5, though I guess the Emperor's Children didn't get a Grotmus detachment. As well as the units that we've actually seen, there'll be Fulgrim as well, and then otherwise for generic Chaos units there'd be the Demon Prince, Terminator, Spawn, Helldrake and Mauler Fiend, the Rhino and Land Raider, and there could be more besides that for all we know. It's not 100% clear whether or not that's a complete list or not. I don't know if they'll be able to field cultists. The thing that was particularly telling though is that Slaanesh demons are indeed going to be rolled into this codex, so I guess the Keepers of Secrets, Demonettes and the Fiends and everything like that will all take up a fairly good chunk of the book. And while all the focus is on the Emperor's Children Space Marines, I guess it means that the overall army will be a bit of a demon-kin army. So likely armies will be taken to the table with some demons and some Emperor's Children, all in a great big mix-up for Slaanesh. I feel like this is near enough confirmation that Codex Chaos Demons is indeed going to be split up and put into the various Traitor Legion codexes. Though they stopped short of actually saying that in the stream, I feel like it would be quite helpful just to confirm that that's the case, rather than just teasing that it is, just so Chaos Demon players know where they stand. Probably something to talk about a bit more in another video though. As well as the Codex, they also told us about the contents of the Combat Patrol, and this one's going to have some overlap with the army set with a Lord Exultant, 6 Flawless Blades, and then 10 Infractors or Tormentors depending on how you build them. So this one really quite a melee focused one, and no Noise Marines in the Combat Patrol unfortunately. I feel like if they wanted to make it more helpful, then swapping out one of those flawless blades for one of the noise marines would have made it something that you probably would have got multiple of, though maybe that's by design. Feels like it could be of interest to some people on top of the army box set though, given that it has the flawless blades that aren't in that one, even if you will be doubling up on the Exultant Lord and the extra troops, which you already get quite a lot of. It's not exactly going to be a very high one on the model count, only 17 models in total, so kind of similar to the Blood Angels one for better or worse. I guess it'd probably be around the sort of 450 to 500 point mark in game, so probably a little bit better than at least some combat patrols out there for getting points on the board. Rounding it off will be Fulgrim himself. I guess he'll turn up for the main release, so it'll be the launch box first, but they might surprise us with a Primarch release. In any case, he's very likely to be £102, $170 or €135, and I suspect that the demand for him is going to be pretty massive. Hopefully they've made enough of him, and it's not like Lionel Johnson, where his little launch box sold out very quickly. In the stream they gave us a few more rules teasers for Fulgrim as well. Just based on the other ones, we know that Demon Primarchs tend to be toughness 11, 16 wounds, with a 2+ save and a 4+ invulnerable. Apparently his weapons in melee are going to be a Malefic Lash, Demon Blades and Serpentine Tail. I'd be very surprised if he didn't have a strike and sweep type mode. Maybe some combination of those, and the tail could be extra attacks perhaps. He's got some sort of special rule called Demonic Poisons. I don't know if that might be his main datasheet rule. And then beyond that, all the traitor Primarchs get 3 demonic powers that they can unleash, and one of which is Fights First, which I was strongly expecting might have been on the datasheet. I'd certainly be expecting him to be powerful in combat, and again from the on-stream things they said that they'd had a 1v1 with Fulgrim and Angron, and Fulgrim had won all 3. I'm not sure that's the best advertising for Games Workshop game balance, I suppose. I guess if he got to fight first, then there's a pretty reasonable chance he might beat any other one single big bad monster who's put up against him. In any case, as well as the model and the rules for him, he's also going to have this novel called Fulgrim the Perfect Son. That looks like it's going to be written by Jude Reed, and it strikes me as it could be kind of similar to that Lion Son of the Forest one that they had when he came back, so it could be maybe a bit more interesting than some of them for the current 40k backstory. In any case, some fairly monumental Emperor's Children reveals there. Look forward to hearing your takes on them down in the comments below. As mentioned, I'll be doing a giveaway for the Emperor's Children box set, and I'll talk about that briefly at the end of the video. Otherwise, that wasn't all for Warhammer 40k miniature reveals as well. It seems they've decided to show off the Death Guard miniature reveal in the Lord of Poxes. This was the guy where they mistakenly sent out the sprue to someone, mistakenly packaged in another box set, so they built it up and put it on the internet. My first impression of him was that he looked like a plague champion with a great big blight chimney type thing on his back. Though I did see a bunch of people speculating that he could be actually called the Lord of Poxes, and apparently he's been a thing in Death Guard lore for a little while. A different flavour of leader to go alongside the Lords of Contagion and Lords of Virulence. He's armed with a plasma pistol and a great big rusted blade thing on his back. Maybe that'll just be another heavy plague weapon, though I guess it might have some sort of special name. They didn't really say too much about that in the preview article though, and the main thing that they talked about was the device on his back, which is a miasmic turbine, apparently vomiting out pathogens and contagion into the air. Incubated within this guy's own lungs apparently, and then billowing out in great clouds to affect the enemy, and also apparently will be shielding the Death Guard's advance. I did guess when I saw the model that he might have some sort of special rule to maybe grant stealth or similar to his unit. That does seem kind of in line with him having a great big cloud generator. In any case, really quite cool to see him all painted up like this. It seems that the Death Guard players might not have all that much longer to wait as well, as we also got a teaser of the next Warhammer 40k roadmap. I might not go into this one quite as much and talk about it a bit more in the next video, but it seems that build for now we've got Eldari, Astra Militarum and Emperor's Children, and then coming next we've got World Eaters, Death Guard and Thousand Sons. There's at least a couple of things that are maybe a little bit confusing with that, maybe in particular wherever Imperial Knights had gone, given that they were billed to be after Eldari and Astra Militarum. I'm not sure if they're still going to be there, but it does sound like the other Deity Legion Codexes are coming sooner rather than later, which I guess would also fit in with the Chaos Demon units being rolled into them. It did seem kind of likely that if they were going to split up the demons and put them in the Deity Codexes, they would need to do them all at once, and that's why they've all been kept this late. Either way, this year looks like it's going to be a busy one for 40k. It sounds like we've got a big Eldari, Deathcore and Emperor's Children range all coming in the really quite near future. Never mind whatever other reveals they wind up cooking up in the end of the year. Hopefully World Eaters get a little bit more, and if Leagues of Votann do turn up this year, I'd guess that they'd get a good chunk of models as well. For the further future after those Deity Codexes, Games Workshop also seemed to give us a few more teasers as well. So far I've not really thought too hard about that or looked at any other chatter about it yet. From first impressions, maybe Grey Knights on the left, then Salamanders looking after that, which is kind of cool. It looks like a Black Templar axe after that, and what appears to be a Chaos Knight Chain Talon type thing. I guess that these might be teasers of new models if they're bringing them up, given that we do know that the Codexes are going to be coming out for most of them, though the Salamanders one is kind of interesting. Finally, for the main Warhammer 40k reveals though, there was also a limited edition Black Library one for a new Cadian command squad, and this one's going to be a new version of Minka Lesk from the Black Library novels, and this one's going to be one that goes with the novel Hell's Last. In the unit we've got Minka Lesk leading the way as a senior officer, and presumably the rest are all characters from the books. They're not really ones I'm too familiar with, but it seems like we've got a lasgun toting veteran guards lady, a sort of imperial priestess type who seems to be toting the regimental colours, a rather dour and brooding commissar type fellow, and a veteran guardsman with a melter gun. These ones are going to be Black Library miniatures, so they'll be limited edition and then they'll be gone. The current Cadian command squad is £28 or $45, so I guess that these ones will probably be at least somewhat similar, given that their named characters I'd probably say that much or more. Kind of unlikely to be any less than that. They're going to be coming alongside the next adventure in the Black Library series for her, apparently, in Hell's Last. It is kind of interesting that she's got a new miniature really quite so soon, particularly given that there's a fair amount of Black Library novels to dig into. This one's now representing Mrs. Lesk as a senior officer, as opposed to I think it was a sergeant before. They're still fighting with that same curved power sword and bolt pistol. Here's another slightly closer up look at the rest of the squad as well. I see that commissar's got himself a power axe on the go there. Certainly feel like there could be some fun alternative miniatures to stand in for a bunch of guard characters or squad fillers. Otherwise though, there were a couple of things from the grim darkness of the far future. Even beyond 40k stuff, we got the reveal for the Thanatar Calyx for the AdMech. This one's another one of those heavy siege automata with a great big shoulder mounted beam weapon, and is another recreation of one of the other Forge World resin miniatures in plastic. This one was basically 100% confirmed given that they showcased it in the teasers, though for some reason it didn't make an appearance in the preview show. Instead they just decided to drop it in an accompanying article. For the Age of Sigmar, they got a launch box as well. Some pretty fun skeleton warriors in the Soulblight Gravelords. This one's a pretty similar thing to the 40k offerings. A bunch of new miniatures with the new army book and some cards. Again, some pretty spectacular sculpts for Age of Sigmar here. I think this White King guy looks all rather awesome with his skeletal steed, rusted armour, and ready to drag the living down, no doubt. They also had a new model for Prince Vordrai, who looks like a pretty massive and fun centerpiece model, plus you can also field it as a Revenant Draconith apparently, a great big and disturbing zombie dragon. And then for the rank and file in the box set, there's some mounted Barrow Knights, which were the teaser for Sigmar, plus the on-foot Barrow Guard, these ones the elite of the Skeleton Warriors. For Necromunda, it's a return to the Ash Wastes. I think that was what people were predicting, given that they'd seen this bug here that looked like it could come from there. And there's going to be a new book called Tribes of the Wastelands with the rules. The main reveal for the Ash Waste were these Shadar Hunters, seeming to be using a whole bunch of bits of beasties to poison and kill their foe. There's new upgrade kits for the Ash Waste as well, and a set of those rather nasty looking burrower bugs if you want to include some of those. I feel like the infantry are really quite nice looking, though I think one of the other really cool things is this great big Necromunda terrain set. It's called a Thaitos pattern fortified hub module, basically a bunker suspended off the ground and covered in a bunch of guns and lookout posts. I feel like this one's just a pretty cool piece of terrain full stop. It certainly looks like it could be a fun bit for other bits of Warhammer 40k. It looked pretty spectacular on the battlefield. Not exactly the most functional battlefield terrain, it's not going to block any line of sight or provide much cover or anything, but I do think it looks like really quite a cool kit. Finally we've got the Old World, and it looks like the next faction for them are the High Elves, and they do have a couple of new Forge World resin miniatures for the army as they've been doing with the rest. I think it's the two on the left here, and again a massive wave of retro kits returning, including this dragon. In any case, as 40k previews go, I think they've done rather well with this one. Basically the reveal of the new miniatures for a whole new faction to the game, or at least expanded from the sub-faction that they were. Plus a few more interesting teasers as to what's coming next, the Lord of Poxes and Minka Lesk. As ever, let me know your takes on the miniatures, which ones do you like the most, and are there any bits that you weren't so pleased with? Finally though, I'll just finish up by talking about the Emperor's Children box set giveaway. And given that it's a big shiny new box set of new plastic kits for a new faction in the game, I thought it would be a good target for the channel's March giveaway. And for this one, there'll be 8 winners to get their hands on the box set when it goes live. As mentioned, it looks like it's a Lord Exultant, 12 Noise Marines, and 20 Tormentors or Infractors, plus the new Codex and data cards. As ever with the giveaways on the channel, there's 2 equal ways to enter, both links down in the video description. Either you can support the channel on Patreon for any amount, that gets you automatic entry into the giveaways each and every month. A massive thank you to anyone who chooses to, who helps support the channel and keeps the videos coming. Though there is also the option to enter on social media completely free and boost the channel by supporting the algorithms. To enter that way, you do 3 actions: subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the channel's Facebook page. And once you've done that, to actually enter the draw, the giveaway post appears on the 1st of March for this one. That appears at midnight UK time and is active for 24 hours. In that time, reply to the post with a picture of any 40k mini or imagery, along with your name and the date handwritten within the same photo, to help deter the Facebook bots and spammers. After the 24 hours is up, I put all the entries into a random number generator, both the Facebook ones and the Patreon ones equally. The random number generator will pick out the winners, in this case 8 of them, and they'll be announced on YouTube on the 4th of March. For this one, the models will be posted after I've received my orders of them. Obviously, we don't know the exact release date of these guys yet. It could be a little bit of a wait, but basically whenever the Emperor's Children go on sale, I'll post them out after that. In any case, feel free to check out the link in the video description if you want to enter for that one. At the moment, there's still time to enter the February one, which is exactly the same rules, but for a knight household. Basically, any 3 plastic Titanic knights from Games Workshop, or the option to swap them out for some armigers. That'll have all the same rules, but for February. In any case though, I'll leave that one there for now. Let me know your takes on the new Emperor's Children and all the rest. Look forward to hearing all your thoughts and comments as normal. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more like this, and I'll certainly be back to talk about that 40k roadmap as the next video. Otherwise, check out the Patreon page and the discount affiliate links in the video description if you'd like to support the channel either directly or when you next pick up some Warhammer. In any case though, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.